Hello, everyone. Welcome and thank you for having me. I have a lot to get through today, so we're just going to hit the ground running with an email. Actually, an update to an email that I received a while back. A witch had an important interview coming up, and she just wanted to make sure that she nailed it. And my advice was a standard get that job spell. Basically, you eat an apple a day or two prior to your interview, and while you're eating this apple, you envision nailing the interview, getting the job, starting your first day, and so on. And then once you're done, you cut the apple core open and you save the seeds. And so when you go in for your interview, as you're leaving, you leave the seeds behind somewhere on, the job site or the office or wherever the interview takes place. And then a few weeks later, I got this update from that witch. Good morning, Eli. I wanted to give an update to you from a month ago. Long story shorter, I was stuck at a job that was easy, and honestly, I could do what I wanted to, but I felt unsuccessful, and like my life was stuck in a rut, a never-ending cycle. So I decided it was time to look for something I knew would not only be an amazing career, but also make me feel fulfilled in life. I live in Ohio, and I decided to do what I know what I love. I decided to go to what I know and love, the medical industry. I knew I was too old to do physical work like I used to, so I was looking for something more mentally challenging this time around. I applied for multiple positions at our top university as they have a top-notch medical center. When I mean multiple, I mean over 15 to 20 positions. Mind you, I started this journey in February, with months of no luck no matter what I would do spell-wise, and spiritually I just kept getting nowhere. So in May, I decided to go out on a limb and ask your opinion. You suggested the apple spell. While I had every intention to do this, I literally got an email the day you replied to me, asking to do an interview in just a few hours. This interview was for my dream position, and I could not wait, so I did what any of us witches do. I improvised and combined the spell. I had a money/job spell from one of my dear friends in my coven that I had been using, and everyone was getting lucky with it, and I was not. So I took the spell that I knew, I added in the apple as an apple candle holder, and then took the seeds out like you said and manifested the shit out of this job as if I already had it. The interview went great, and I was asked to come in a few days later for, quote, another interview and a tour of the facility and department I would be working in. As I went to my second interview, I was so nervous, but once I relaxed, the interview went better than expected, and I left feeling like I was going to get a call the next day. I felt like I found my work home, and that feeling for me was indescribable. But on my way home, I realized I forgot to not only drop my seeds, but I also had forgotten to bring them. I started to panic, but on the way home, I was talking to my husband when an email came through. It was an email to set up 2 more interviews for the doctors I would be working with. Yes, a total of 4 interviews for this job. They make sure you really want it. So I feel like the universe knew I would need those seeds later on. My interviews with the 2 doctors were 2 weeks apart from each other and also on Zoom and not in person. So again, I had to improvise your spell work. So after the first and second interview, I decided to make a brew or a simmer pot, and I added my seeds to the mixture. When I say you could feel a difference in our house, you could feel the difference. Then 3 days later, I got an email about doing the final steps, and yesterday, June 29th, I got the call I've been waiting for. I got that job. I have never worked so hard for a job in my 38 years. It was mentally draining and very challenging, but I'm so glad I stuck it out. As witches, I feel sometimes we get stuck, and asking for help can seem like our own magic is not enough, when in reality it just needs a little boost. I tweaked my spell and yours, and boom, it made the perfect pair. I just wanted to say thank you so very much for reaching out to me and allowing us witches to use your spells and bounce off each other's ideas. In this community, it can be hard at times not knowing the intentions of others and whether we can trust them. And I know I'm not the only one who is truly so appreciative of you and what you not only put out for us but also give to us. Thank you so much, Raven Willow. Now, I don't think I need to explain just how much I loved this whole situation. Putting the apple seeds in a simmer pot during an online interview is such a 21st century solution to being able to leave the seeds behind at an in-person interview. But it's not just that. Over and over again throughout this process, this witch was adjusting and adapting and altering things in order to keep the spirit of the spell work she was using, even though the situation kept changing and evolving around her. She didn't get frustrated or discouraged or look for reasons why this was the universe telling her that it wasn't meant to be. This witch kept putting one foot in front of the other and kept finding ways to get the results she wanted in a very fluid situation. This is what witchcraft is. When I told this witch, this is peak witchcraft, this is what I mean. If we were just happy to be at the mercy of outside influences, if we were just content to accept whatever comes our way, we wouldn't bother with witchcraft. Witchcraft dares to demand more. It finds a way. It borrows and it builds on the work of others, and it creates a unique amalgamation that is suited to each witch's specific circumstance. And this is why I really try to drive home the idea that there is no one-size-fits-all approach to magic and witchcraft. I am not a big fan of treating spells like we're reading a recipe where there are no substitutions and no adjustments. I love spells as guidelines. They're there to give us a blueprint, a starting point, a good idea of what we need to do, but we need to be ready and willing to make changes as needed. And I just thought that this witch really exemplified that. So thank you, Raven Willow, for sharing your story, and especially for the update. I get so many emails and messages, and it's really, really gratifying to hear back from someone to see how their situation has resolved. So if you'd like to message me, please email me at eli@middleagedwitch.com, or find me on social media at middleagedwitch, or on the website middleagedwitch.com. So today I want to talk about fertility magic. And this was a suggestion from a witch called Brielle, which I appreciate always. So please, if there's a topic that you would like us to cover here, drop me a line. But I do want to make a couple things crystal clear before we get into this discussion. Fertility is a really sensitive subject for a lot of folks, and I really don't want to approach this without addressing that and acknowledging it. Furthermore, I am not a doctor, and I don't know shit, so please do not misconstrue anything we talk about today or any day as medical advice, because it's not. That's not how we are approaching the subject, though. Our main focus here is going to be fertility rituals, as well as, herbs, crystals, and deity work that are associated with fertility. And we aren't going to talk too much about sex magic either, because we did an entire episode about that, and I will link to it in the episode description. But the difference between the two is that sex magic can be used to supercharge any kind of spell work, but fertility magic is used specifically for fertility. Obviously, there's some overlap. But I'm not going to waste any time. Let's just get straight to some spell work whose purpose is to support fertility. First and foremost, right off the bat, let's talk about what we might include in a spell bag or a mojo bag. Now, cowrie shells are frequently used in fertility magic, and in addition to being easy to find on jewelry, which is also something that someone might consider, they're just small, they're inexpensive, they're easy to come by, and they work really well in a spell bag. I would also include a bit of copper, such as a penny, any little bit of copper, and also a couple chicken bones. Very good for fertility. Crystals that we could include in this might be rose quartz, onyx, jade, green agate, green jasper, moss agate, or carnelian. And then herbs that I like for this kind of work are going to include star anise, mustard, and I keep just a little jar of mustard seeds for this kind of spell work, and you can find this like in the spice aisle at the grocery store. But also mistletoe, patchouli, acorns, sunflower, pine needles, or even like a small pine cone. Big time fertility symbolism in the pine cone. And then just make and charge this spell bag on the full moon, and then keep it under the bed and take it out to recharge in the full moon once a month, and just until, we get that little blue plus sign. Now, candle work that we can use in fertility rituals, it's kind of going to be dual purpose. First and most significantly, we can use the element of fire to send our manifestations out, to set those intentions and put them into the universe. The second thing about candle work for fertility is that candles help set the mood. And, I can only speak for myself, but I look much better by candlelight. So it just kind of works, in more than one way. So anyway, fertility candle spell. Begin with a candle, green or blue if that's available. Otherwise, a white candle always works. And I would make a little fertility oil to anoint the candle with. And here's how you make it. You're going to begin with some olive oil, just an ounce or two will be more than enough, and add some basil to the oil, lemon balm if you've got it, fennel, sage, yarrow, coriander, or grain. Just as many of those as you've got handy. Don't make a special purchase for this. Mix your ingredients together and warm the mixture over low heat for 20 minutes or so. And then let your oil cool. Strain out all of that plant material, and then use this oil to anoint your candle before you light it and allow it to burn down safely. You can also use this as massage oil, but be damn careful not to get it on your sexy bits. We're trying to get positive for pregnancy here, not for a UTI. There's another reason that you anoint the body, though, and that's because we can create a sigil for this intention as well. I did an entire episode on making sigils, so once again, I'll include that in the notes. But you can use this oil, this massage oil, to draw those sigils on the body before engaging in sexual congress, and it could be beneficial to put those sigils over the sacral chakra, which is associated with fertility. And then another thing that could be considered is calling on a deity during the course of your manifestation. I would approach this just like I would any kind of deity work when I have a specific outcome in mind. And there are so many deities that you could consider. The deities that most readily come to mind when we talk about fertility and fertility rites are going to be Aphrodite, Adonis, Zeus. Not surprisingly, that dude never met a woman he wouldn't put a baby into. But also Artemis, Ra, Shiva, Bridget, Freya, Demeter, Hades, the Green Man, Inanna. Did I already say Rhiannon? Rhiannon, and then Aphrodite's Roman counterpart Venus. And God, there's like 100 more. Just do a little research on different fertility gods and see if any names stand out for any reason, if you feel a certain pull. And then once you've got someone in mind, learn a little about them. I mean, it's worth, at least a cursory Wikipedia search to get some background on a deity that you intend to approach. And then I would make room on my altar for them. Put out some water or some spirits, put out some offerings related to fertility, such as apples or grapes, figs, even flowers, especially roses. And then spend time in meditation with this deity. Explain what you would like, which is going to be assistance with fertility in this case, and explain your end of the deal and what that will entail. Maybe you're going to maintain their altar and freshen it up once a week with new offerings. Maybe you'll get a picture or a small statue of this deity so that you can have a proper shrine that you can go to communicate with them. Or whatever the case may be. deity work is very, very personal. You are going to have a conversation with your deity, and you're going to have to come to a mutual agreement with them, which more than likely is going to end up in a much deeper relationship with this entity than you ever anticipated. Deity work is heady stuff. It is not something to be approached lightly, but it can really support our work, and it can help us to feel like we're not alone. That's where we're going to leave it for today. Next week, we are going to do an entire episode about Aphrodite. And while she is, at least in part, a fertility goddess, we are going to see that she is so much more. And I'm so hyped for it. So thank you again for joining me. Have a lovely weekend. Enjoy the new moon next week. I can already feel her. She's going to be an intense one. So take care, batten down the hatches. My name is Eli Rowe, and this has been the Middle-Aged Witch Podcast.